Shifting focus, former Bangladesh Prime Minister Khaleda Zia was placed on ventilator support late on Thursday after her health condition sharply deteriorated as per PTI's reports. The 80-year-old Bangladesh Nationalist Party chairperson has been battling multiple organ complications since she was admitted on November 23rd. The statement said Khaleda Zia was kept under round-the-clock medical watch by a team of local and foreign specialists as several of her vital organs continue to be under severe stress. In its statement, the medical board urged people not to circulate speculation or misinformation about Zia's condition and to respect her privacy and also dignity. That's the latest that we have picked up straight from the neighborhood. What exactly is happening there in Bangladesh? Former Bangladesh's Prime Minister Khaleda Zia was placed on ventilator support late on Thursday after her health condition sharply deteriorated as per reports. She's 80 years old at the moment, is also the chairperson of Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Famous face in the political circle as far as Bangladesh's scenario is concerned. She's been battling with multiple organ complications since she was admitted on November 23rd.
My straight question to you, Ambassador Sikri, will this election be free and fair?
Absolutely.
And she will not get to fight the election. This lady will not get to fight the election.
Yeah,
she will not get to fight the election. The others will fight the election.
Yes, yes. So I think just the very fact that Sheikh Hasina's Awami League has been banned shows that the elections are going to be neither free nor fair nor inclusive. And if they're not free, fair and inclusive, then they cannot be credible. So I think that this is the biggest problem that we have to face because Awami League is already threatening that if the ban on their participation is not lifted, they will go for what they call a movement, which is that. But I want to draw attention to what you have given in your assessment as the BNP being the forerunner and, Jamaat being far behind BNP and so on. I think this situation has changed totally. Earlier this week, the Pratham Alo, which is the largest Bangladesh vernacular paper, published a poll which was done by them. The dates of that poll were the end of October, so about roughly 6 to 7 weeks ago. Now, in that poll, there were two very interesting points that came out. One was that 70% of the population wants Awami League to participate. This is very significant because for the people of Bangladesh, a democratic, free and fair election can be held only if it is inclusive. So all the major political parties who are registered with the Election Commission should be allowed to participate, and then you can see what the result is. 70% want the Awami League to participate. This is very significant. Even they said unconditionally. Some people said, oh, maybe there should be some conditions, but 70% said unconditionally, let them participate. They are a registered political party. Now, in this poll at the end of October, they also asked, who will you vote for? Interestingly, the poll showed that yes, BNP has a huge lead, some 65-70%, and then is Jamaat-e-Islami 25-30%, and then but that has changed. Now, at the end, in December itself, there has been another poll released by the International Republican Institute, which is, as you know, is an American institute which has been very active in Bangladesh, and they now show that the lead of the BNP has almost disappeared, and that there is now just a 4 percentage point difference between BNP and Jamaat. So I think BNP has around maybe 33% and Jamaat has around 29%. But the most significant point is in this poll that 7% have said they are unsure and 11% just won't say. So there's a 17% undecided, which is much more than the difference in the poll numbers between Jamaat-e-Islami and BNP.
Okay.
So I think this is also on the situation on the ground. I can tell you that Jamaat-e-Islami is now leading BNP, and in all likelihood, it will be a Jamaat-e-Islami government.
Okay, you're saying it's going to be Jamaat-e-Islami government. There is a cadre of Awami League. Suhas, where will that vote go? Will they go to Jamaat or is it going to go to BNP? Where will that vote go?
First of all, I think the
Or
whole
Nahid?
election is stage managed. Because if the BNP were to be allowed to form the government, the elections would have been held in the first 6 months after the fall of Sheikh Hasina. The very fact that even today, Tariq Jia cannot come back from London shows that there are certain forces which do not want BNP to win the majority. And so therefore, I think we have to, come back to the first issue. Is the free and fair election? It's a stage managed election, which is being managed by the Americans. So they already have decided as to who will come to power and who will not come to power. I think as far as the Awami League is concerned, I think for them, it makes more sense to vote for the Jamaati Islami, because they know that Jamaati Islami coming to power will not have acceptability and it will raise questions. The first questions which will be faced if Jamaat Islami comes to power, it will be the Americans, because Americans are used to supporting Islamic fundamentalist government. But a number of European governments who have been going around the US position and supporting this government as if they have been conducting free, fair elections, or they're restoring human rights or respecting human rights, they would face the questions in Europe. So I think, I mean, for Awami League, they would vote for the Jamaati Islami, and that's why I think I completely agree with ma'am that the chances of the Jamaati Islami winning the elections is much more than the BNP winning the elections, because there are certain quarters, not necessarily India, from the Western forces which do not want BNP to come back to power. At the end of the day, if you look at it, Tariq Jia is an asset of the MI6. He has been there for last over a decade. So why can't, under these circumstances, despite his mother being terribly ill, he cannot come back to Bangladesh? The fact that he cannot come back to power basically shows that they do not want him to be in Bangladesh. I think that's where the issue lies.
Okay. Ambassador Sikri, you're saying that it's going to be the Jamaat's government. So are you also saying that even the Pakistan is also going to tilt towards Jamaat and not to the student party led by Nahid, because Jamaat will require a lot of support?
No, Jamaat already has the support. In Bangladesh, there are only two cadre-based parties. One is the Awami League, the other is Jamaat-e-Islami. The BNP is not a cadre-based party. It is an urban group party. And
So what happens to the then Awami League cadre? Where does that go?
Yeah, now that is, of course, a very interesting point. What Mr. Suhas Sharma has also said is very valid, that the Jamaat-e-Islami is going to try to force the Awami League cadre to vote for them. There is the chance of a big campaign, which the Awami League has already started, called No Boat, No Vote. The boat is the electoral symbol of the Awami League. And they are saying that if you don't allow us to participate in the election, we will not vote. And if 30-40% of the population stays away from the vote, then the election itself becomes really non-viable. It becomes really a joke, really a sham. And I think the way in which all the Awami League people are being treated is shameful. You've seen that President Shahabuddin has already said that he wants to step down early because he feels humiliated. Do you know, as President of Bangladesh, recently the Yunus regime issued an order to all foreign embassies of Bangladesh saying remove the portrait of the president. So the embassies abroad no longer have a portrait of President Shahabuddin. This is the ultimate humiliation, where while he's still in office, the Yunus regime is trying to humiliate him. I think this is really amazing that Western countries who otherwise talk about human rights and democracy and all of that are really keeping silent on this issue. As far as the NCP is concerned, the student party, they have already shown themselves to be completely toothless tigers. They have no power at all. Even in the students' elections in the universities, which were held in 2 or 3 universities, they got nothing. The Jamaat-e-Islami and the Islami Chhatra Shibir got everything. BNP was trailing way behind them, and the NCP was even lower than the BNP. So you can see that what is touted as a students' uprising is shown itself that by its very character, they have no student following. Even the people who are supposed to be students are not following.
So what sort of a Bangladesh, Suhas, are we looking at? Sort of a hardened Islamic nation, something like Afghanistan or Pakistan? What sort of Bangladesh are we looking at if Jamaat-e-Islami forms the government there?
I think we're just going to see chaos. because the whole orchestration is basically to ensure that Sabuddin retires or is forced to retire. Then once the elections are held, there will be a coalition sort of government because Jamaat also will not have an absolute say. Then possibly Dr. Yunus will become himself the president. Then they will remove the army chief because they have no faith in the army chief, because army chief, apart from many other things, being a family member or a relative of former prime minister. So this whole drama will continue, and at certain point of time, because you are not allowing the political party Awami League to participate in the elections, you are not confident. So we have to remember that the Awami League is not being defeated in the ballot boxes. Awami League is just being prevented not to participate, and they fear that if the Awami League contest the elections, possibly at this point of time, maybe they win 35% to 40% of the seats. Then you cannot form a government without the Awami League. So that's why from the beginning they are very aware that if you allow the Awami League to participate in the elections, then there will be chaos in the country because they don't want Awami League to come back. And we must remember they had banned the Awami League during May this year, but for the offences which they allegedly committed during the July uprising. But prior to that, there was a writ petition in the High Court seeking ban of the Awami League. The High Court had actually rejected the petition. Now, something which has already been decided by the High Court in September last year itself, immediately after the the uprising. Now, High Court at that point of time did not find it fit enough to ban Awami League, and suddenly you could ban it in May this year. So I think what we are going to see basically chaos in the country because, as Ambassador Sikri had mentioned, no vote. That's the sign of the the Awami League, the vote. Then they will not vote. So you cannot keep 40% of the population out of the election fray. So they are going to face a chaotic situation in the country, not an Islamic country. We are going to face chaos.
Okay, you wanted to come in, Ambassador Sikri. What does it mean for India, ma'am?
That's why I wanted to actually speak on that, because I think we have to recognize very clearly that a Jamaat-e-Islami government is going to be a clone of Pakistan.
Okay.
That is why we have to be very clear. It's going to be Pakistan's B team. Pakistan, all these decades, has always operated through the Jamaat-e-Islami. So Jamaat-e-Islami is very well nurtured and brought up in this same philosophy of accepting whatever Pakistan says. Even the conduit for the regime change operation was Pakistan, working through the Jamaat-e-Islami. Either the Jamaat-e-Islami pro officers in the army or other Jamaat-e-Islami cadre on the ground. So I think we have to be very clear, and I think Pakistan itself has made this very clear. As Asim Munir announcing that the next attack will be from the east, they know what they are working toward. They will always have the Jamaat-e-Islami on a very tight leash and make them do exactly what they want them to do. It's going to be a reversion to the pre-1971 situation that existed between 47 and 71. And if the Awami League were to carry out its own, threat of disturbances, there will be complete chaos in the country. And the BNP too. I mean, it's so shocking that Tariq Rahman is not being allowed to come back, even when his mother is so clearly, so desperately ill. And even his mother being taken to London for medical treatment, even the air ambulance cannot be arranged because the condition is so serious. I mean, in fact, many people are saying that she may be just on the ventilator.
So basically, two prominent national parties are being done away with.
Yes, and Jamaat-e-Islami is coming in. This is the old -2 formula, which has been talked about now for at least a decade and a half. All the time since 2007, it's being talked about. And that's what they're trying to do. But we have to be very careful. India has to know that Jamaat-e-Islami is not an organization you can talk. Some people are saying...
So, what does it mean for Buddhists, Chakmas and Hindus in Bangladesh?
The moment the Jamaat-e-Islami come to power, there is no space for them whatsoever. And that's why I think there is a security risk for India, because the moment Jamaat-e-Islami comes to power, we will have problems in the northeast. We will have the Rohingyas, trying to make entry into Arakan region. And I think we have to bear in mind that the entire South Asia, there could be, a threat to regional peace and security, because whether we like it or not, there is going to be conflict in Arakan in an intensive way, in more than what we have seen in the last 70 years. I think the Rohingyas are going to fight back, that to return to that country. Then Hindus in the mainland India, in mainland Bangladesh, and the tribals in the CHT, I don't think they will have any space.